वो दिन कितने प्यारे थे, ये दिन भी कितने प्यारे हैं। तब बाबा साथ हमारे थे, तब बाबा साथ हमारे थे। बाबा अब भी साथ हमारे हैं।
अंदर सोचते भी रहते हो, जैसे संकल्प की बात सोचो कि जब व्यर्थ संकल्प चलती है तो समझ में भी आता है कि ये व्यर्थ है, लेकिन व्यर्थ संकल्पों का भाव इतना तेज होता है जो अपने तरफ खींचता जाता है। जैसे नदी का वह सागर का बहुत फोर्स होता है ना, तो कितना भी अपने को रोकने की कोशिश करते हैं लेकिन बहते जाते हैं। तो समझते भी हो, सोचते भी हो, ये ठीक नहीं है। समझते हो इससे नुकसान है, फिर भी बहाव में बह जाते। इसका कारण परिवर्तन शक्ति की कमी। पहले विश्व
Om Shanti. Transformation of old sanskars and old nature, constant embodiments of all attainments. The natural nature of Brahmins is constantly one of having all attainments, that is, the original and eternal sanskars of Brahmins are a victory and in becoming complete and perfect. The sanskars of repentance are not the sanskars of Brahmins. They are the sanskars of warriors. Those who belong to the Sun dynasty are constant embodiments of all attainments. Now transform the old nature and old sanskars. Om Shanti.
Om Shanti. Welcome to Avakti Parivar. Today's day 15. Transformation of old sanskars and old nature. Today's topic is constant embodiments of all attainments. So now we will listen to Mohini Didi and then we will listen to Brother Ken.
Okay. Om Shanti, everyone. Okay, very good. Baba is connecting wasteful thoughts with body consciousness. And then Baba said that the force of the waves of wasteful thoughts are very fast. It's like any river or an ocean when there is high tide, when there are high waves. And if you are in water, you won't be able to control yourself. You will flow in that direction. So sometimes it happens if there is a situation, whether you yourself or any others start saying things about Baba, about Yagya, or about anyone else, we have to be very careful not to participate in that conversation, not to listen to that conversation. Because sometimes people come to us and they talk, and we have to listen. But we have to listen in our, Baba says, eternal form, and that is in soul consciousness. So when you are listening in soul consciousness, but also you bring Baba in front of you and keep your form of all attainments in the emerged form, then you will not just flow with the current. I think we all have that experience. But now, because we don't want to waste our thoughts or we want to waste our time, we don't get involved in either speaking or listening, but rather we will not join that wave, not get into that wave, because as Baba said, it could be so forceful that even you would want to control, but you will not be able to control. I thought it's really wonderful to pay attention to that. Because if I have to become embodiment of all attainments, because some souls, they live the life of struggle. They have internal struggle and externally also conflict with someone or something. But if you are in soul consciousness, then you will not become the part of it. Because let's say there is someone in a situation, it could be personal karmic account of that person. We think that is others do to me, and I always feel nobody can do. But you allow that to happen to you. I mean, I haven't experienced my life. Yeah, people do get upset, and but if we don't become part of that, so how do I not become a warrior? Because that time the stage is of silver age, not of golden age. But when there is image of all attainments, so if you remember that when we come to Baba, we belong to Baba. So what happens? You do feel all attainments. Even now, people ask us, what do you need? What Baba needs? I say, never use this word. What would Baba need? Mean they meant whatever Yagya needs. So we immediately say, Baba doesn't need anything. But if you want to create your fortune, then of course, whatever way you want to help Yagya, whatever you want to contribute, whether it's time, whether it's karma yoga, whether it is whatever way. Didi Manmohini used to tell us, when you're giving something, you should always say thanks, because Baba has to keep that and give you manifold, multi-million or whatever way. Baba has to give you back. Baba has to give return. In a way, she used to say, you are doing banking with him. Right. So very, very interesting not to have this thought that I have to give or I am giving, but I am depositing with Baba for future. So this subtle consciousness, I remember that is why when we had to keep Baba's box at centers in foreign countries, should we write donation? And Dadi never liked it. Why will God take your donation? So then we came up with the word contribution. You are contributing. So I always, day one, even before Gyan, that God is bestower. If we have to do or give, because that's how He will be able to return the reward of what we give. If you don't give, it's the story of Sudama. No? that Sri Krishna had to eat handful of raw rice. He ate one and he ate second. And Rukmani at that time stopped him and said, "Don't eat third one because you might have give to kingdom of all three worlds." So he had to eat so that he can give. And that also is such interesting that he had friendly, loving meeting. But when he was returning, he really didn't get anything like he promised, "I will give you," and no. So all the way returning home, he had been thinking he didn't give anything and lot of thoughts, wasteful thoughts. But when he reached home, instead of a small hut, there was a big palace. His wife came out with lot of beautiful jewelry, very, very rich woman. So when he entered the palace and he couldn't understand, but actually that was the reward of the handful raw rice which Sri Krishna ate. You have many stories like this where God has to take from us. And that is why, as much He accepts, sometimes that doesn't happen also. Mm. Dadi Janki used to say that when you have lot of love, lot of bhavna for Brahma Bhojan, offering bhog to Baba and doing Brahma Bhojan for the Brahmin family, then when the soul leaves body, bhog will be offered with lot of love. Mm. And she was saying there was one soul, she always used to kind of not like Brahma Bhojan, reject Brahma Bhojan. And when she left body, even they wanted to offer bhog, but it didn't happen. So there are many, many benefits of what I offer to Baba. Not actually thinking of, oh, I will get this from return, but have internally faith that Baba does return. Mm. I was sharing yesterday that the wealth is Lakshmi, but wealth is also Maya. For some, we do things to get wealth, which is more under the influence of Maya, lack of honesty in receiving, giving, whatever. Mm. They take their commission right here. Mm. They get something, so they keep something and then use it. Mm. So it's lack of honesty. So, but if it's Lakshmi, then there will always be abundance. Mm. And you don't have to do anything which is not straightforward and not honest. Right? So, how to become the embodiment of all the attainments and then be bestower of that? When we come to Baba, we have lot of karmic accounts with our body, with our wealth, in relationships with the self. But belonging to Baba is zero. He said, I cancel, I forgive. Now I give you something new. Now you consider everything Baba's. Everything belongs to Baba. I have helped so many souls that they now see what they have now after knowledge is Baba's. Before you could waste time, but now you can. You can spend money wherever, but now you have to spend according to Baba Shrimad. There was a time in some centers still, we don't have much in USA. If you have to spend more than $250 to buy anything, they had to write it and get permission to do. And one of the reason is that sometimes our taste could be very high standard. So I am using yagya money more than it should be. So reminding yourself that Baba has given me everything. Not only given, but will also give. Whenever, whatever is needed, my internal stock and bhandara will always remain full. Baba will feed us, Baba will take care of us. And this, how the yagya is growing, we think it's because we do a lot of service. That is Baba. Bhavana is towards Baba. But also when we become embodiment of all treasures, then also everyone's bhavana increases. Should not have any desires for anything. Whatever are the needs, if they are the needs for sustenance, needs for service, Baba will fulfill all the needs of us as children. But to be embodiment, Baba had been saying a lot about that you should be embodiment, soul consciousness of all attainments, but also be careful not to waste, because now they are not your treasures, but it's Baba who gave you treasures. So it's Baba's money. Everything belongs to Baba. So then I have to be more careful than before. Even we say, no, Baba, I surrender my mind, body, wealth, everything to you. So after surrendering, it belongs to Baba. So because it belongs to Baba, it has to be used in a worthwhile way. So I like it very much that the practice of transforming is very important. From waste to worthwhile. Because when we waste time, waste thoughts, a lot of things go waste, right? So we have to be careful and again, just be embodiment of all the attainments. So we should practice that. Om Shanti. Om Shanti, everyone. Om Shanti.
Transformation of old sanskars and old nature. Constant embodiments of all attainments. The natural nature of Brahmins is constantly one of having all attainments. That is, the original and eternal sanskars of Brahmins are of victory, and of becoming complete and perfect. The Sanskars of repentance are not the Sanskars of Brahmins. They are the Sanskars of warriors. Those who belong to the Sun dynasty are constant embodiments of all attainments. Om Shanti.
Om Shanti Avakti Parivar. So today we'll be listening to our dear brother Ken. But before that, I just want to remind you all about our Double Foreigners online program. Yesterday, there was supposed to be Mohini Didi's class, and Didi gave class here in Shantivan because all double foreigners came down, but somehow it was not recorded, so that's why you didn't get it. But it will continue. So today again there will be 7:30 class, and that's by Sudesh Didi, and sorry, that's for 16, and then 17 is Baba. So anyway, the schedule you all have received in email, so you can follow the schedule. And also tomorrow is Wednesday, so our schedule from Amritwela, and also awake the children Murli class from 5 to 5:30, and evening session will remain same. So now let's start our Avakti journey. Welcome to Avakti journey, living and serving with our Brahmin family. So let's invite our dear angel brother Ken. Welcome.
Om Shanti, dear sister Bhumi, Didi, Om Shanti, Didi also, Om Shanti everyone. Well, today I'm in Mexico. I was in Argentina, I'm now in Mexico, which is very good because it's the same, it's like 1 hour before New York and not 2 hours ahead. And I must confess that I've enjoyed so much being able to share something with Avyakti Parivar, to listen and to get Didi's inspirations and watch these extracts of Abhiyak Movies. I've been enjoying it so much. But the fact that I have to share in the evening, it really helps me keep my mind focused. And there's a distaste for wasting time or energy because of that, I don't like to get into conversations that are unnecessary. I don't like to do actions that are unnecessary. It's like because I want to be okay to be able to share something. And I like that extract from the Morley where Baba was saying that wasteful thoughts are very powerful and very fast. But we know that, as Baba said, the force of body consciousness is actually just the force of both our ignorance and the vices that we have. And this idea of going with the flow, if you look at water, as Didi was sharing about water and the waves and so on, the rivers, there's this expression that we have in English, go with the flow. I mean, it doesn't matter, just adjust to things as they are and just go with the flow. The problem is the flow is downwards always. So I need to sometimes swim against the current. I need to work with myself. And we know that the world around us, everything that we see, touch, hear, and feel, and everyone practically that we meet, they live in this Tamil Pradhan world. And I will be very vulnerable to that Tamil Pradhan world if I'm not in soul consciousness. And I like this idea from Baba in the extract that came, that we need to have the power of transformation in a second, and that's the whole theme of this month, transforming Sanskars. So one thought, just to give an example, a sort of thought that can change my direction, that I'm not influenced by anything around me. I'm not influenced by the conversations and the states. And I'm, just not just adjusting myself, means if adjusting doesn't mean that if someone's angry, I have to also become angry so that I'm at an equal par. No, I have to adjust myself internally to whatever's going on, whoever's saying anything. So one question that I ask myself often, which has the immediate power of transformation in a second, is this one. If I were already a deity, what would interest me? If I were already in the Sun dynasty, what would I be involved with? What sort of conversations would I? Probably hardly any of them. Of course, we have to keep a minimum conversation with others because of service and because of serving people, because of helping people. But we don't need to say so much. We don't need to think so much. We don't need to do so much either. But internally, I have to keep my thoughts elevated. I have to understand that even if everyone else and everything else is Tamo Pradhan, I have to keep myself Sattva Pradhan. So if I were already a deity, what would interest me? Because one thing that helps us is in adjusting to other people, because that's what I was wanting to share about tonight, adjusting to however and whatever people are, is the understanding, like the main weapon that we have is the understanding that comes from Jnana and the power of yoga that comes from our connection with Baba. If I understand who I am really, I also understand that no one is what they're doing. No one is what they become. No one is what they become. And also, we are not what other people do to us. So it's no use to play the game of victim, that I'm unhappy because of so-and-so. I'm having extra thoughts because of something someone else said. And the practice that we have to have as yogis, not like the conquering of the sense organs, is not just not being attracted to things that are happening around us in real time, but I also have to go beyond anything I've heard, because that's also being caught in the world of sound. I have to go beyond anything I've heard. I have to go beyond anything I've seen. So that's like, those are things that have been registered through my eyes or through my ears. And these are the two main sense organs. So this consciousness that we are not what we are doing, we that has happened over some time. We're being impelled by our karmic accounts, and that's often making us do things, but the karmic accounts inside of us. And we are not what we've become, because there's a distance. There's a distance between what I am in the beginning and what I've become now. There's a big distance. And this distance, if I'm going back to what I was before, there's no struggle. But if there's a big distance, there is a struggle, because it's like I'm two people. I am this original, loving, beautiful, peaceful soul, and also I'm this person that's stuck in the world of devices. And so how not to get caught up in the flow of things, as Didi was talking about? It's like our senses, physical senses, and our common sense even informs us that the world is flat, for example. But we know that the world is not flat. It's completely round. That if you go off in one direction and keep on going and going and going, you, after a long time, you'll come back coming from the opposite direction, because you've gone around the whole earth. And Bob often mentions about Vasco da Gama, who circumnavigated the world, this Portuguese explorer. So we know that the world is not flat. But at the same time, we think that we are this life. Like we can't see the whole picture. And so we think that everything is reduced to this body and this life. And that, of course, is the essence of body consciousness. So if I'm living and working with someone who probably like me is body conscious number-wise, some of us are more, some of us are less. And if we're Brahmins, then we're also number-wise in our practice of soul conscious. Sometimes we are more, sometimes we're less. But definitely we have the experience now that we are Brahmins, we know these things. That if I become soul conscious, I will see a different world. I will see a different person in front of me. I'll practically be able to see and understand and also take into account, well, that soul's had a long story just like me. And you can imagine a relationship between two people. And they're like two buildings side by side. And if each birth were just like, one floor, and the most recent floor is this floor that we're living on, and then there are other floors that we don't know about, our other births. And if you go down into the basement, for example, the foundation of the building, that's where our best sanskars are. So I'm a building, using this analogy, so the other person is a building, and here we are stuck on the top floor of the building, which is the most recent floor, this life, and we're interacting at this level. And we've got no idea what happened on the other floors. And more importantly, we forget that our treasures, our spiritual treasures, are in the basement of the building. So I have to stop and look at the other person, because the answer is not in anyone else. I like to use this idea. The only thing that we have in common, and there are a few questions that we can ask here, like you can't compare an apple with an orange. An apple is an apple, an orange is an orange. The only thing that they have in common is that they're fruits, and they taste differently, they're different colors and so on, different properties even, but they're both fruits. In the same way, me and someone else that I have to adjust to, I'm an apple and the other one's an orange. So I have to take into account what we have in common. This is like the very first question that we have to ask ourselves. If I'm trying to adjust to someone, number one question, what do I have in common with this soul? I have in common with every single soul. We have the common home. We all started off in the soul world. We have a similar original state in the soul world. We have the same God. We're connected with the same one. No matter what tradition we belong to on the tree, we are connected somehow to the seed who is God. Now, if the person that I have to adjust to is another Brahmin, then there are other things that we have in common. We are both children of Baba. We've recognized Baba. We've recognized Gyan. We are making efforts to become deities. We don't have that in common with our Lokik people, but with other Brahmins, we are all part of this Brahmin family, and we are all dear children of Baba. That Baba's called to his family to do his service. And so we are Brahmins together. We're becoming angels together. We're becoming deities together. So when I interact with other Brahmins, there's many more things that I have in common. I have to see what I have in common with someone so I can start to build a bridge, because the differences are the walls between us, and the common things are the bridges. So if I can establish a bridge with someone, I can start to interact with them at a spiritual level. And that makes any adjustment that I have to make very much easier. The next question, okay, let's say I'm trying to adjust to someone who's another Brahmin. What do I bring to this service? What are my qualities? What are my specialities? And also, what does the other bring to Baba? Because Baba has called me to be part of this great task, but he's also called his other soul. Baba has trust in that other soul, so why don't I? Baba has respect and love for that other soul, so why don't I? So if I start to think about my specialities, that will help me to start to think about the specialities of the other the other person. Now, if that other person is creating a difficulty, and let's be honest, we do have from time to time difficulty with others, other Lokic people or even other Brahmins. If there's a difficulty, I have to ask this question, and was very much something that came up in the Dharana-based leadership course. What does that person really want? They're creating a difficulty. Probably they want love. They probably want to be understood. They probably want maybe some recognition, or they need some affirmation about their own existence. It's something they want. So they want attention, maybe. So there's always something behind the difficulty. And if I can understand what they really need rather than want, what does that soul need? And I'm Baba's instrument. Baba knows what that soul needs. So it's not really a personal thing with me. They, for some other reason or the other, become influenced. And therefore, they're sort of expressing that influence in the form of some harsh words maybe, or some bossiness, or some attitude that we don't like. But if I really I sit with Baba and I ask them, Baba, what does this other soul really need spiritually? And you really have that conversation. Then immediately you'll start to be able to adjust to that person. Because obviously, as Baba often says, if someone's having some not so elevated behavior, it's because they're under the influence of something or the other. And I was thinking today, Baba did mention in this morning's Murli, he made a reference to Dushasana and Draupadi. Now, I found out that the word Dushasana from the Sanskrit means actually someone who's difficult to govern, someone who's difficult to control. And so we are all we've been through all of that. We've been in the Dushasana mode, someone who's been moved mainly by anger and lust. But at the same time, the whole problem came up because they laughed at his elder brother, Duryodhana, when he was trying to get into the palace. What was the palace? What was the name of the palace? Maya Sabha. It means the palace of illusion, the palace of Maya. So even the Pandavas lived in the palace of illusions, and they made fun of Duryodhana because he couldn't get in. It was making all sorts of attempts to get in, and they just laughed. So later on, he got his vengeance by asking his brother to try to, strip Draupadi and have his vengeance. But, we are all, this is our story. This is our story. We've been through the cycle. We've lived in the palace of illusions. We've had both sides of the equation. We've been sometimes Dushasanas and sometimes Draupadis. So we have the Sanskars, and now we're trying to bring out our original Sanskars. These things are not part of the soul. Any of the vices was developed over time. It was not there originally. No vices were there originally. They just came up as we lost power and we lost purity, as Didi has been saying these days. These things only exist because of lack of power and lack of purity. And if we get more power from Baba, we start to get his service. He's the purifier. I don't purify myself. I allow Baba to purify me. And in that way, I come out of all this illusion, this palace of illusions. And so I can get on with anyone. As I become more and more pure, I can get along with absolutely everyone, because everyone is a soul. Everyone is a Baba's child. Some of them are special Baba's child and have become Brahmins. Some of them have not become Brahmins. Mostly haven't become Brahmins, but they are still Baba's children. So as he is the father of everyone, how should I treat everyone? So these are sorts of things that come out. And if I forget that, I become vulnerable again. And, wasteful things start to pull me and hold me and push me here. What do I have to get interested in at this moment? Where do I have to go with what Baba gives me? What are the specialities that I have to bring into this life? And how can I live only under Baba's influence and nothing else? These are the questions that I need to ask. So let's have some meditation now.